anyways, I'm just showing you this to show you how they got to where they are. What just happened here? Okay, back to Darius, back to Cyrus now. Cyrus goes into battle. Cyrus is another king of Persia, right? He defeated the Babylonians. Cyrus goes into battle, and he comes up against Queen Tommy. Queen Tommy is this lady right here. And she's over in the north of the Black Sea. Cyrus wants to make her his queen. But she sees through his phony thing because she's not in love with him, or he's not in love with her, but all he wants is her empire. Well, she doesn't have an empire. She writes him a letter and says, you know, we got nothing here. We got no gold, we got no silver, we got no treasure, we got nothing. Everything we have, we share with amongst each other. We have sheep and we have pastures. That's all we got. So don't come in here or I'm going to kill you. Right?
Wow.
That's a love letter. You get them to your wife all the time. So he writes back and he says, if you don't marry me, I'm going to come here and take your country. Anyway, she says, you come here looking for blood, I will make you drink more blood than you can swallow. So she sets up a little booby trap. But her son, he gets drunk. Well, hang on, let me get the story straight here. Cyrus goes in and loses the battle, and her son comes out and takes victory of that battle, and then in part of the things that they captured in the battle, there's a lot of wine, and they got drunk. And Cyrus put it there on purpose. It's in the small army there with a lot of wine, and then what's Ephraim known as?
Drunkards.
The drunkards of Ephraim. They're there for a reason. Look at all the British sitcoms now. They're always in a bar. Coronation Street takes place in a bar all the time.
That's where they live.
Yeah.
Pubs. The pubs come from.
So, these guys get drunk. And when they get drunk, Cyrus comes up and attacks them and destroys the whole army. Captures Queen Tommy's son. He asks if he could be let go for a minute. He gets let go, grabs a sword, and kills himself. Queen Tommy is flippin' furious. You do not want to get a monarch mad, especially a female monarch that goes ballistic over her children being killed. She's furious. She rallies all the Israelites at that time, called at that time the Messengete. That's what they were called by King Cyrus.
Message.
Message.
Massage.
It means great sack of horde. So she gathers this horde together, and Cyrus, she sets a booby trap. Leaves a few people behind. He captures them, crosses the river, chases them, and surrounded. And she annihilates him. And she cut off his head and put it in his intestines and filled up his intestines with blood from the prisoners that she had captured so that he could get all the blood that he wanted, fulfilling her little prophecy to him.
Wow.
Why don't we learn this great woman? Okay? Women are to shut their mouths in the church. But we got great women being queens and presidents over our countries in history. The church replacement theology is telling you to shut your mouths. I'm telling you to speak up and tell the church replacement theology, get the hell out. Because they don't teach you the truth. And they are not replacing Israel because Israel is still here.
But wouldn't that be part of that confusion between mythology and truth?
What I just told you is
yeah.
written history.
Okay.
That's why they want to call it mythology, because they don't want you to get on the bunny trail.
Maybe that's probably the
That's
best
what
answer
it
right
is.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buggers. You know, Satan is so deceptive. He is so evil and deceptive.
This story is in Encyclopedia Britannica.
Preach it.
That's
Right?
right. I'm going to, you know what, some days, brother, I'm going to preach it. Trust me.
So the Scythian Israelites push further north. They come into contact with the Cimmerian Israelites, who had migrated earlier around the Black Sea and over top of the Black Sea. Some of these Cimmerians moved into the sparsely inhabited regions of the Baltic and became known by the Romans, who now, so now we got the Cimmerians going from Assyrian and Persian and Babylonian languages. Now we got the Latins, the Romans, calling them something else. And the Romans called the Cimmerians Cimbri. C-I-M-B-R-I.
Like Umbri.
like Cumbri, they are called Kimbri. And the Kimbri, and I don't see it on this map, the Kimbri were settled right in here. Okay? By the 6th century BC, the Scythians covered the Ukraine as far as the Carpathians. The Carpathian Mountains are those ones over there, right? Yeah, those ones over there. No, there's the Ukraine, these mountains right here. So the Scythians have covered all this area. So by the time of Ezra of the Bible, went from Babylon to Jerusalem in 458 BC, most of the northern 10 tribes of the house of Israel, now known as Scythians and Cimmerians and Kimbri, they spread out over a wide area stretching from the Rhine and the Baltic in the west to the Central Asia in the east. Only a small remnant was left in Media to hear Ezra's invitation to return with him to Jerusalem. You see the timeline where we are in time-wise here? The 2nd century BC, the Scythians had been pushed out of South Russia by the Samaritans and were moving westward themselves toward Jutland along the coast towards Holland and Britain. What's Jutland named after?
Germany?
Jewsland.
Oh.
Jewsland. Jewsland. Jutland. What's Jutland today known as?
Jersey.
Jersey.
Jersey Shore.
Jutland. Right here. Jutland. Jutland. Denmark.
Huh.
Where was I?
Jutland.
Jutland. The Romans, okay, as the Scythians were pushed out of southern Russia and the Samaritan tribes moved in, the Romans introduced the name Kerman, K-E-R-M-A-N, from the for the genuine Scythians, Germanus being Latin for genuine. Okay, so this is another version. There's another version that I don't have here. The Germans, Carmen, were also a tribe down here. Here's Iraq, here's Iran, right down in here, called Carmen. Spelled K-E-R-M-E-N, C-A-R-M-E-N, depending on who's telling the story. Kermans, they had a tribe down there. They were an Assyrian tribe called Kermans. And they moved up here and became dominant. Their name became dominant up here. So
That Germans, that's where the Assyrian German
that's where the Assyrian Germans come from. But here's this map. I've shown you this before. So here we go. We got them taken from the captivity going over here, settling here, and after a couple hundred years, being pushed up here and taken over this area and fighting against the Assyrians, and then fighting against the Babylonians, and then the Persians coming, and they push them out, and they push them up here along the Black Sea, and there, the Darel Pass, right here.
And the Caucasus, yeah, where the word Caucasus comes from.
That's where the word Caucasus comes from, the Caucasians. So the Scythians are up here. Now, the other ones down here in Armenia, Naphtali, go up here. They're also called the Sakai, and they become known as the Mesengeti. And this is where the Mesengeti come over here, and where Cyrus gets his head whacked off. Okay? The Mesengeti, also known as the Huns. I gotta watch I don't kick out my cord like last time. The Huns go out here, they're known as the White Huns. And they come back, and they're just as bad as the other Huns that aren't white. They're actually worse.
The Genghis Khan Hun?
The Genghis Khan Huns.
He was brutal.
But the White Huns were brutaler.
I think
We have found graves
out
here
of
in,
all history, they were the worst savages of all.
there are graves here in Western China that have red-headed people in European clothes known as Caucasians, and they don't know what they're doing there. This is them coming through here, the people with the toques on, and they're buried here. And they still got their red hair, and they come around. And here's the map. Now that's one branch. We followed another branch from Egypt, up here to Crete, to Greece, to Troy, and then Troy, to Lydia, to Sicily, to Rome. And then they get beaten up here in the 400s by the Israelites again. The Israelites flee from the Babylonian onslaught and the Assyrian onslaught. Dan leaves. They settle here, Carthage. Start building that thing. You know, the stuff that we've gone through step by step, there's so many more stories we haven't even covered. And this is all of it on one map. And it looks like it all happened in the same year. This is over 2,000 years. Different things, different steps. What happened here from Carthage? He attacked Rome with elephants. Who's that? Hannibal the cannibal. Right? He attacked Rome from the north and defeated Rome. Great story. Burns his ships here so they can't come back. The Romans eventually find out and come here and they destroy it because of the god Moloch. They burn it and salt it so they never come. The Israelites told them that if you go through the gates here, the Greeks were Israelites and the Romans who were Latins, if you go through these Greeks, you're going to fall off the ocean. So they were able to keep that sea gate to themselves. But they were already going out here getting the tin from Britain. Joseph of Arimathea was a tin man. You going to go there? Yeah, I think we're going there. Joseph of Arimathea was a tin man. He was a procurator of the Roman Empire. He was also in the Sanhedrin. He mined tin in England. That's where he brought Yeshua. That's where the stone of scone cried out when he walked by it. Yeshua had red hair. And then he sailed over to Massachusetts and collected the iron or the copper from there. And then he went to Brazil and a 3-year journey. And Yeshua is recorded talking to the white Indians who were remember, the Empire of David collapsed 723 BC and then finally collapsed in 586 BC. Those colonies over in North America were left vacant with no one to bring them back home. Yeshua came over and talked to the white Indians in North America. White Indians. How did we get white Indians? They were the colonies that were left there. Cherokee has a lot of Hebrew words in it. Right? Just so much information here. So the Messianic come over here, the Communions come over here, they come down here, it's just so much. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And putting this together has been just a feast for me. Because I get to remind myself of all this stuff. So you asked before about the Sephardic Jews. Okay, so that part, what I just showed you here, this is Israelites. 723, what happened after that? Here's 586, right? 586, they go into captivity, and they come back. And then 70 AD, right? 70 AD, they're dispersed again, and they go this way, and they go that way. And they come around here, through North Africa. And they come here, and they come this way, over into Africa. And then, but that's not all in 1 year, that's, centuries take place here. And these dates aren't exactly correct. And then they go up, and they get into Russia, and they come into Europe, and they're dispersed there, and they go back into Eastern Russia, or Eastern Europe. And they come in here into Spain. And in 14-something, the Spanish Inquisition takes place, and they're chased out of there, and they're killed. And that's where we get a lot of the Sephardic Jews from, right? 1492, I guess it is. It could be 1492. Is it 1492?
No, that's for Columbus.
That's right.
It might be because it was during their.
Yeah, I think it happened a year after Columbus or a year before
Oh,
Columbus.
okay.
It was a year after
Maybe that is
Columbus.
right.
Anyway.
So this is the whole thing, It's unbelievable. Jehovah. Why? Here's a question. Why do none of these maps go into China and North Africa or Africa? Why don't they go to Asia? Because Jehovah has already said in Isaiah, he's going to send them to the isles in the north. Remember we read that at the very beginning?
That's true.
Okay, now, here's something I was going to go into before I deviated because I had to come back to it now. I want to read this to you. So let me read it to you. This is from 1300 BC. 1300 AD. Actually, I'll get the right date here in a minute. This is a document from Scotland, the Scottish Declaration of Independence. In Arbroath Abbey, following the removal of the Stone of Destiny, remember the Stone of Scone we talked about? To Westminster, King Robert the Bruce of Scotland was visited by two emissaries of Pope John XXII, to whom Edward II of England had appealed for help to compel Scotland to acknowledge England's lordship. So King Edward wrote to the Pope, telling the Scotch to submit to the King of England. Okay? These emissaries bore a message from the Pope advising Bruce to submit to Edward's claim. But Bruce and his nobles drafted a letter which they addressed to Pope John XXII and which can still be seen in Register House in Edinburgh. It had attached to it colored ribbons and seals with the signatures of Robert the Bruce and 25 of his nobles, basically all his cabinet. The letter, does anyone know what I'm reading here? Does anyone know
Is
what
that
I'm
that
talking
famous movie? Is that that famous movie with what's his
Robert
name?
Lionheart?
No, no, Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
He was Bruce, I think.
No, he wasn't Bruce.
No?
Bruce betrayed him in the movie, but yeah, that's the same thing.
Okay.
So all these things that are being famous talk about our ancestry. The letter was drafted April 6, 1320 AD, and it read in part, we know, we most holy Father and Lord, okay, so it says blasphemy, I got this from someplace of blasphemy, and Lord, and from the chronicles and books of our ancients gather, that among other illustrious nations, ours, to wit the nation of the Scots, has been distinguished by many honors, which passing from the greater Scythia, which we've now just learned about, through the Mediterranean Sea and the Pillars of Hercules, Gibraltar, and sojourning in Spain, Hibernia, the Hebrew land, among most savage beasts, most savage tribes, through a long course of time, could nowhere be subjugated by any people, however barbarous. And coming thence 1,200 years after the outgoing of the people of Israel, the Exodus. They, by many victories and infinite toil, acquired for themselves the possession of the West, which they now hold. In their kingdom, 113 kings of their own royal stock, no stranger intervening, having reigned. For so long as 100 of us are left alive, we will yield in no least way to English domination. We will fight not for glory, not for wealth, not for honor, but only and alone for freedom, which no man surrenders but with his life. So that's Robert the Bruce said that. We came out through the Red Sea crossing with the Israelites. In this document, written in 1320 to the Pope, nobody disputed what he said. All the leaders of Scotland agreed with it. And we've already shown you the history of Scotland twice.
And I suppose they have the signatures on the independence.
Well, yeah, they're all
on the declarations all there.
This is the seal
wouldn't
of each
sign.
of the barons.
Yeah.
Each of these seals.
Oh my gosh, there's the seals. Cool.
It's right there. How come we don't learn that in history?
Somebody doesn't want us to know.
Because Satan doesn't
The
want
Sebuleni.
secret to get out.
Sebulingoi. Sebulingoi. These are the people of Zebulun. Holland. Helon, Elon, son of Zebulun.
Did the boat must have a ship on it like that?
So this is where that name comes from.
It looks like a sunken ship.
Yes, but you know what the significance is? They lowered the water and mined their treasures out of the sea.
Oh, they did, right.
Holland, building the dikes. So there's a great history in Holland, and it was prophesied that Holland would dwell on the shores of the sea. 1/3 of Holland is below sea level, and another third would be subject to periodic flooding by the sea if not for the protection of the dikes. Most of the country, therefore, is seashore, and is the only country in the world about which this can be said. You know, the prophecy of Holland, of Zebulun. The symbol of Zebulun was a ship, and this was the traditional symbol of Holland. So, what you've now seen is that the royal line in the House of England is not just a happened by chance thing. It's been designed by Jehovah, weaved together through many threads, and I've shown you a number of those threads, not all of them, just a number of them, starting before the Exodus and coming up to this kingdom that's here today. The Royal House of Windsor is the end line of that lineage, of which we're a part, that we got to watch on TV this past week. It's so awesome. So awesome.
What does the droid mean?
The what?
Droid.
One droid?
Droid.
I'm not sure. Jew-Ed Mondroid, not on my right hand, I'm not sure. See you, Robert.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, see you, Robert.
Hi.
See you, Robert.
Thank you.
So, okay, here's another line we're going to look at. Zedekiah was the last king of Judah before the destruction of the kingdom of Babylon. And he had all his kings killed, all his sons killed before him. Right? And when that happened, at the same time, Jeremiah and his scribe Baruch show up in Ireland. This is the stamp of Baruch that was found in Jerusalem. They bring with them the heart. And that is now the flag of Ireland. He brings with him this stone upon which every king in Ireland and Scotland and England is coronated upon. The same stone that Jacob anointed. And Yeshua said that these people don't speak these stones well, because he knew this stone did. There it is there. That's what I was saying there. Okay? So let's see. I've already said this a couple of times. There's the story of the stone being brought back to Scotland. It was big news back in 1996. This is the tomb of Jeremiah in Scotland. This is Devonish Island, Loch Erdney, County Meath. In that tomb is this inscription here. So if you know what that says, it tells you that a certain number of people left on a voyage. Some people died along the way. And then they arrived in Ireland. Because it's all based on the stars.
Yeah, because he's got the Pleiades there.
So I'm not going to try and translate it all right now.
Is this a drawing somewhere?
This is the drawing inside Jeremiah's tomb. How he came to Ireland.
Probably etching on the stone.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be the navigational.
That'd be the navigational map. So he left, right? Where does it say it?
Yeah.
Where does it say it? Here, he left with 4 people, 1 person died. Now there's only 3. And he sailed up this way by that and he arrived here with 3. Basically, that's what it's saying. That's the cold notes on that. So here's the Tara, Mound of Tara now in Ireland. This is where the Stone of Scone was originally brought. This is where Scota was originally brought. This is where she made the kingdom of Ireland reign from. And this is all that's left. You know, you can see that they're even plowing it over top of it because they didn't know. But when you take a picture from the air, you can see the berm. It's sad, but this is part of our history that we don't talk about, don't relate to. So there's the heart again from Ireland. Here's the Hill of Tara. Up here, this is Dublin, Ireland. There's the Hill of Tara. You can go there to this day. That's on my to-do list.
Bucket list.
My bucket list. Thus saith the Lord God, remove the diamond and take off the crown. This shall not be the same. Exalt him that is low. Who's low? Zerah. And abase him that is high. Who's high? Pharis. I will overturn it. And it shall be no more until he come whose reign it is. And I will give it to him. You see what he's saying? I will overturn from Zedekiah to the Irish line. I will overturn from the Irish line to the Scottish line. I will overturn from the Scottish line to the English line. But get the last part. And it shall be no more. Is Prince Charles and Prince William, are they about to be snuffed out? Is that what this is saying? I don't want to think that.
Maybe a rule.
But this throne will be given to the rightful king, Yeshua. And it's coming.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. There's one king really on Earth. There are other dummies, there's other kings, but that's the most
Yeah.
on the Earth
So
today.
here's what I was saying before. Ireland and Scotland both kept the Saturday Sabbath up until the 7th century. Okay? So that's in the 800s. We have records of Scotland keeping the Sabbath up until the 11th century before being converted to Christianity and switching to keeping Sunday as the Sabbath. This was done by force by the queen mentioned above, Queen Margaret, who died in 1093. And she was canonized as a Roman Catholic saint in the year 1250 by Pope Innocent IV. So there's a picture of her in the stained glass chapel of Edinburgh. So let's see, where am I going? So he sends the apostles, okay? So Yeshua says, I've only come for the lost house of Israel. Another thread now. He sends the apostles out. Where do the apostles go? Do not go to the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter the city of the Shamarites, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's where the 12 apostles went. It's awesome where Paul went.
You know what? You're kind of blowing the water out of First Fruits of Zion. There's a book that I read. Oh boy, I mean, you're really going to put this guy to the test if he ever hears your presentation.
He won't listen to me.
Because he writes about the mystery of Paul. The mystery of Paul is that he going to Gentiles. I don't know.
What are the Gentiles? What are the Israelites?
I don't know if he meant seed. I'll have to go back to the book. I'll have to go
The
back to the
Israelites are
book.
called Gentiles. Why are they called Gentiles? They're called Gentiles by the Jews because they are so much like the Gentiles you can't tell them apart.
Because they're interspersed in with the Gentiles.
Remember we told you, what did the Jews say to Yeshua? Where is it going to go? To the dispersion of the Greeks? The dispersion of the Israelites. They were called Greeks. We got Greek letters. I read you just one. There's two. There's Greek letters to the high priest in Jerusalem telling them that we're kin from Greece. You know, I don't know if you heard the one I read. So, where do they go?
In ancient, you mean in ancient times?
Yes. John Maccabeus, of the Maccabee time, the high priest, and Eli. Eli?
They got correspondence
Yes.
from Greek leaders at the time.
Israelite leaders from the house of Zerah. We read them at the beginning.
And the Maccabees got a letter from them.
Yes. So, who do we have here? We have a stained glass window in a church in England showing Joseph of Arimathea bringing the young boy Yeshua after he's 12 years of age and bringing him to England where he spent many a year. And he doesn't come back in the Jewish scene until he's 30. Remember I showed you that? The story of Joseph of Arimathea is unbelievable. And look it up. Look it up on my website. I got it there a couple of times. He was a decurio, that's what I was trying to say, of Rome. An officer of the Roman army. He was also in the Sanhedrin. So he had both rankings.
Is that the same Joseph of Arimathea that buried him?
Yes. The Jews, we're going to get into that story here now. The Jews, after they killed Yeshua, went on a rampage in the next 3 years, killing all those that believed in this way.
Mm-hmm.
That dispersed them all. James got thrown off the pinnacle of the temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paul was on a rampage, dragging people out of their houses and stoning them. Stephen was one of those ones that he had stoned, right? These are all stories in Acts. What happens when he comes to Lazarus? Lazarus was raised from the dead. He was like a god to these people. The only person who's ever raised from the dead. You can't stone Lazarus. And Mary and Martha, his sisters, and their servants, and the name of the servants come up here in history. And Mary, the mother of Yeshua. What do you do with these people?
You can't make martyrs out of them.
Hey?
Can't make martyrs out of them.
Well, he didn't want to do that either.
No,
So
they
what
just
does he
think
do?
better than to do that.
Paul takes them, puts them in a boat on the Mediterranean, and pushes the boat out to sea. No food, no water, no sail, no oars. Where did those people go? Well, they got in a boat and left. And they may have drowned or starved or something.
So where's that in history? Who wrote that Paul did that? You're pulling our legs here?
I'm not picking, no, this is true.
Really?
Yes.
Who wrote that? Is that,
Joseph of Armuth, or the guy I read before. Anyway, maybe I'll get to it here in a minute. Not sure, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So, after the crucifixion, Joseph of Arimathea asked for the body. Only he could do that because he was a relative. Only a kin relative could do that. Why did Joseph have to go quickly? Because they were going to burn the body. Why do you burn the body? Because it's accursed. Anything hung in a tree is accursed. Right? So you burn it. You don't bury it, don't touch it. If you touch
Not
it,
if
you
you
become
took it
accursed.
down by sundown. You can't leave it hanging overnight.
You can't leave it hanging overnight, but even if you touch it, it's accursed. It's got to be burned before sundown. Achan was accursed, and all his things, his wife, his children, his ox, his sheep, everything was stoned and burned. So they had to hurry. Joseph had to hurry. And I take them. I walk them from the crucifixion over the Dome of the Rock and back and show them how long it takes. Let's say it takes an hour. But if you're in a hurry, it's much less. Right? And that's what happens. So now, Joseph of Arimathea is kin. He took him to England with him during those years. And with a 31 AD date for the death of Yeshua, most modern Christian historians date the death of Stephen in 36 Common Era, near the date when Pontius Pilate and Caiaphas are deposed by the Roman legate. From 31 to 36, the early growth and development of the Hebrew Nazarene Ecclesia had almost 5 years of growth before fierce opposition came against them by the house of Annas and by the ascending man of the year in Jewish religion and politics, Rabbi Shaul, the student of Gamaliel. So with the persecution of the Hebrew church in Jerusalem by Pharisaic student Shaul, many of the official members of the Nazarene Ecclesia fled the city. In this political drama, we find the direct assault of the enemy, which appears to be Shaul, the Pharisee, against James the Just, as he was in debate with Gamaliel on the steps of the temple of Herod. That's the southern steps. Were you at the southern steps of the temple? This is where this took place, on the southern steps. At this time, the wounded James, so what happened here, Paul stands up because James is insulting the Gamaliel and takes him and throws him down those stairs. You know how those stairs? That would hurt.
Yeah.
Like the stairs are,
stones and
they're big.
And they're big, yeah.
And at this time, the wounded James, the Just, quickly escapes from Jerusalem and flees to Jericho in the region of Qumran. Did you get to Qumran? No. Okay. You probably will.
I did, I've gone.
Many of the Nazarene followers continued onwards to Perea to the east and east of the Jordan River. Around 36 Common Era would be the most appropriate date for the exodus of Joseph of Arimathea from the land of Palestine. Okay, so that's just another little bit about this, Stephen. So here are the steps.
Wow.
Right? See the person standing up here? I don't know who that is. But see how big these steps are? This is the southern Temple Mount. That was Fort Antonio. This is the same place that Paul got arrested for later and brought inside. So remember, we've now shown you where the 10 lost tribes went, showing you where they went before the Exodus, after the Exodus. We've shown you all this stuff, all ending up here in England. Now we're going to see where the prophets or the apostles went. Okay? There's a list of these people that were in this boat that Paul pushed off the shore. The list of passengers is Mary, the wife of Cleopas, Martha, Lazarus, Eutrophus, Salome, which is one of the servants, Cleon, Saturninus, Mary Magdalene, Marcella, the Bethany sisters, maid. Okay, that's the maid of the Martha and Mary. Maximum, Marcia, Trophimus, Sidonius, Restitutus, and Joseph of Arimathea. Those people are all in that boat. These people are all documented as being in that boat. These people are all documented as sailing east, west, landing in Carthage, getting oars and a sail and food and sailing up to southern France. There's the voyage there. And I think, is that Marseille?
Marseille.
Marseille.
Yeah.
So there's the voyage. From Jerusalem to here, and one version has them going there. So these two different versions, okay? Well, basically, they both end up here in Marseille. Mary Magdalene created a church there. Women are to shut up and sit down in the pews and be quiet. Mary Magdalene created a church there. Right? She didn't shut up and sit down in the pew. And she created a following there. Marseille. Then they went up here to, I can't even say, Lenoche. And then they went on over here to the tip of England. And then they came back to Glass. Oh, I gotta read the name. At this place called Glastonbury, let me cheat here a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to cheat. I'll just carry on with my story because it's a good story. He gets up here to Britain and then they come. Okay? And what time of year is this? 36 AD. What's going on in Britain in 36 AD? The Roman Empire is trying to conquer Britain. Julius Caesar, sometime around here, gets killed, doesn't he? Yeah, at Guys of March. What year was that? 66? Okay. So this is the time we're stepping into. This is the Doomsday Book. When Joseph and his companions arrived in Avalon, they were met by King Guiderius and his brother Avaragus, remember that name, who was the king of the royal Silures of Britain. Silures is another one of the tribes of Sumerians. Joseph and Avaragus were old friends because Joseph had come into England many times collecting tin and working for the Romans. And as a result of his friendship, the king gave Joseph and his companions 12 hides of land. A hide for each disciple. Since each hide represented 160 acres, the sum total of the grant was 1,920 acres. It is an interesting fact that in the last century, when the United States of America was expanding westward, grants of land were given to settlers, 160 acres per person or family. King Avaragus is recorded as having granted to Joseph and his followers 12 hides of land, tax-free, in Yeniswitrin, described as a marshy tract of land, afterwards called the Isle of Avalon. Confirmation of this royal charter is found in the official Doomsday Book of Britain, which was created in 1086 AD, which states, the Dominus Dei in the great monastery of Glastonbury, which is the name I was trying to remember, Glastonbury is a town that's there now, called the Secret of the Lord. This Glastonbury church possesses in its own villa 12 hides of land which have never paid tax. Okay? There's a recorded in the Doomsday Book, 1086. This notable act of the king gave the recipients many British concessions, including the right of citizenship with its privileges of freedom to pass unmolested from one district to another in time of war. This right proved invaluable in the latter preaching of the gospel in Britain. This grant was given to them as a Judean refugee. Britain is the oldest preaching country to be preaching Christianity, and even the Pope knows this because they started at this time.
I like how you said Judean refugee.
Yeah. So Glastonbury, if you go there, has a monastery in which Yeshua built a church, a little wattle, made out of wattle, which is straw and mud, and it was a little place for him to go and pray when he was there. The Isles of Avalon. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Anyone heard of the great king of Avalon?
I've heard the story, Avalon, yeah.
Yeah. King Arthur.
Yeah.
King Arthur. That's the stuff we're getting into now. That's all myth.
Exactly.
No, it's not.
So the devil would like you to think so. It's him. Not the truth.
Yeshua built with his own hand the meeting place, and later Joseph of Arimathea, when he arrived, built 12 anchorite huts. Yeshua built, and I really think this is blurry because it's not blurry on my screen like it is here. He built a little waddle to go and pray in. No one knew who Yeshua was then. Joseph of Arimathea come back and built these and gets the 12 hides of land, 1,920 acres. That little waddle has then got a monastery built over top of it. And then the Cromwell rebellion starts, and the Puritans. And Cromwell destroys this thing for the wrong reasons. Okay? It's very sad. Each of the 12 apostles was killed or died. Each one, when they died, was gone. People from here went and got them and brought them back to this place and buried all 12 apostles here. Peter is not in Rome, and he's not in the Vatican. And you'll notice that the Peter in the Vatican is a black Peter, which is Simon Peter, the magician from Acts. Peter never went to Rome. Otherwise, Paul, when he was in Rome, would have wrote to Peter. But he doesn't. Why? Because Peter is in someplace in Iran or Afghanistan. And that's where Peter dies. The Simon that you see turned upside down, that was the magician in Rome.
The Pope probably knows that too, right?
So anyway, they were all brought back to this place. This place is now taken over by Wicca, witches, and hippies and goofballs. And they come there because this is one of their meridian points. And they come there during the equinoxes. Okay? So the equinoxes would come and pass over in Sukkot. So this is the place I was about to go to this Sukkot on my way to Israel, but I couldn't time it right. I may get there yet. So this place is in Somerset County, Glastonbury, and when Yeshua was there was an island. And on this island was this high hill. And it's called a Tor. But since then, this river is now dried up, and it's all become land. And this Tor...
It's the Bruce, did it say Bruce River? So it's after Brew. No,
The
it's
Brew
not Bruce.
River.
The Brew River, okay.
This high mountain is now called the Tor of Avalon. And I'm pretty sure Yeshua would have stood at the top of that and peered out over all the land when he was a kid. This is Joseph of Arimathea. And this is where we get the story of the golden chalice. You've heard of the story of the golden chalice?
The Holy Grail, right?
The Holy Grail, King Arthur.
Yeah.
I would suspect this might be King Arthur, is Joseph of Arimathea. Because he then went and taught all over England. Okay? And the golden chalice. There is a golden chalice at this place in Avalon. And this is the chalice well where they suspected it's buried. Joseph of Arimathea also came there and he planted his rod, his staff, in the ground, and it took root. And it became this very tree. That tree got whacked down by the Cromwell period. But it kept coming again. And then it got cut down here recently. Again. By saboteurs. All this stuff is right there in our backyard in England. And nobody goes to see it. Except, you know.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Because the rabbit trail's been uncovered, are covered.
No apostle led a life more exciting than Joseph of Arimathea.
Isn't you then about Guinevere and the whole story about Guinevere and...
We're getting into that.
Oh,
I'm glad you know it.
okay. Oh, yeah, I know the story.
It's a great story.
Well, King Arthur is every kid's dream.
Yes.
Yes.
But let's just stop with the story of Guinevere. It was Guinevere. Let me go back here. What time is it? How are we doing for time?
4-ish.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to hurry up then. We're almost done. I'll give you the closed notes. Okay? What's my next slide?
Going back to Brutus. Following his bloodline from his son King.
Okay, let's start here. We'll start here. Brutus came to England, had the teaching of the Torah, was keeping the Sabbath, right? The Trojans were Sabbath-keeping kings. Wow. The royal line in Rome was a Sabbath-keeping line. Who would have thought? Anyway, Brutus comes to England, set up the royal crown. And King, that's 1,000 years before. So this guy, King Avarigus, there are other kings there, became king. And he is aligned against the Romans. Joseph of Arimathea is given this tract of land by this king. Okay? So this is going on. Right? Now, Paul is struck down by the light. Why are you persecuting me, Paul? Who are you? I'm Yeshua. Right? Whatever, however that goes. I'm ad-libbing here. And then Paul becomes a convert. And then Barnabas takes him to the people. The people say, don't bring him here. We don't want him to know where we live. And then Paul becomes a teacher. Right? We read all of Paul's letter because the other guys are scattered all over the place and they're lost to history. But Paul was in England. Paul was at Avalon. Paul came there and planted a tree, an oak tree. And the oak trees are still there to this day. They are 2,000-year-old oak trees. They drilled in and measured them, and they're 2,000 years old. And the story is that these oak trees were planted by Paul in as a memorial of his arrival in England. Wow. And the oak trees are still there. So now Paul goes back and he gets in trouble down in Judea and he gets shipped up to Rome. Where is Paul stationed in Rome when he's a prisoner? He's stationed in the Palatia Britannia, the British palace. How did that happen? Paul says in one of his letters, do I have it here? Do I have it? Do I have it? Do I have it? Do your best to come before winter. Eubulos greets you, and Pudis, and Linos, and Claudia. This is your Gwendolyn. And all the brothers. The Master Yeshua Messiah, be your spirit, favor be with you. Who are these people that he's writing to Timothy? This is the royal house of England that he's talking about. So now that I got your interest, I got to back up. So we got this royal line come from Brutus down, brings you there. Okay. One of the kings is captured by the Romans. Actually, he's not captured, he's betrayed. So they didn't capture him, they just sort of, someone betrayed him and they took him. And he's, you know, the Romans lead the kings through the streets, the parade them off, look at the trophy we've got, and then they kill him, right? So here he is pleading to the Roman emperor for his life. And here's what his speech was. Had my government in Britain been directed solely with a view in the preservation of my hereditary domains or the aggrandizement of my own family, I might long since have entered this city an ally. Right?
Yeah.
Not a prisoner. Nor would you have disdained for a friend a king descended from illustrious ancestors and the dictator of many nations, showing the common ancestry here. My present condition, stripped of its former majesty, is as adverse to myself as it is a cause of triumph to you. What then? I was lord of men, horses, arms, wealth. What wonder if at your dictation I refused to resign them? Why would I give that stuff up? Does it follow that because the Romans aspired to universal dominion, every nation is to accept the vassalage they would impose? I am now in your power, betrayed, not conquered. Had I, like others, yielded without resistance, where would have been the name of Caradoc? This is the guy speaking, Caradoc, my name. Where is your glory? Oblivion would have buried both in the same tomb. Bid me live. I shall survive forever in history one example at least of Roman clemency. And this speech worked. And they did not kill him. Caradoc is said, while in prison at Rome, was converted to Christianity by Paul. It is to his children, Linus and Claudia, and his son-in-law, Prudence, that Paul sends greetings in the second letter to Timothy. Eubulus greeteth thee, and Prudence and Linus and Claudia, and all the brethren from England. All the brethren from England. The Lord Jesus Christ be with you in spirit. Grace be to you. Amen. 2 Timothy 4. Wow. Caradoc converted to Christianity by Paul. But before that, Linus had converted. Linus is the brother of Claudia. Claudia then goes back to England and creates what is known as the Welsh carolers. The greatest singing choirs in the world come from Wales. Were started by Claudia. This Claudia here, the daughter of King Caradoc. Linus converted first, and then he converted the rest of the family later, and then with the help of Paul. Great story.
Is that Claudius right there?
No,
Oh.
this is another story. During Caradoc's confinement, the Roman persecution of the Christians took on a new zeal when the Emperor Claudius was succeeded by the Emperor Nero. Between Rome and Britain, the harder Rome pressed, the worse they were defeated, causing Rome to resort to some really vicious tactics. This led to the historical Minet massacre. Just 2 years after Caradoc's return to Britain, it's amazing that Caradoc kept his word with Rome, because in order to be released, he promised never to fight Rome again. Kept his word with Rome through all the bloodshed. In this massacre, Rome soldiers indiscriminately butchered in cold blood anyone they came upon. These are all Britons. Priests, women, children, the young of worship. However, when Queen Boadicea was publicly whipped and her 2 daughters publicly raped, this caused Britain and the Queen to retaliate in a furious frenzy. Remember what I said about getting a woman queen ticked off? There's no fury like a woman's fury. And the Queen to retaliate with furious frenzy. Now the Silures, which is one of the tribes here, would be joined by at least 3 other British tribes. And that was a problem at the time. The British still had these different tribes vying for rulership. The Roman soldiers were soon overwhelmed by the determination of the vengeful British. This became known as the Boadicean War. And I've heard of that. Queen Boadicea, and I might not be saying her name right, the new Pendragon, had rallied nearly 250,000 Brits and allies against the Romans. 80,000 Romans perished in several battles leading to the battle at London. London was an international merchant port where many Roman legions were based. Again, the Romans were overwhelmed by the determined Brits, and another 40,000 Romans perished in London. The war came to an end in 62 AD, after Queen Boadicea, fearing capture, committed suicide on the battlefield. To the amazement of both the Romans and the British, by the highly gloriously valiant reputation of that queen had established for herself in these battles. All sides immediately ceased fire, and a peace treaty was signed. As one Roman historian writes, every peace with the British was the signature of Rome's defeat. Another great battle. And this came about because King Caradoc was in prison with Paul. And in order to get out of prison and return, he had to guarantee not to fight against the Romans. And he kept his word. Remember we said earlier about the word going out of your mouth? He kept his word. Such amazing history here. Okay, these are just notes. I should have actually expanded on each of these, but I didn't. I missed this in my review. So, We have the patriarchs, we got the prophecies to the patriarchs, which is what we studied at the beginning. We've got the banners to the tribes of Israel, right, which we studied, the heraldry. We got the migrations of different groups of Israelites before the Exodus, after the Exodus, and after the captivity, going to and migrating to England. Legends that have become national traditions for Britain, which we just looked at, Joseph of Arimathea. Christianity first set up in England, which is documented by the Pope, or the Pope in Rome. And the Gaelic language being very close to the Hebrew language. How much more proof do you need? Because I can give you lots more proof as to where the 12 tribes went. Trouble is, you guys are barely keeping your eyes open now, right? And we got lots of more. So, Yeshua is killed. This is someone else's notes. They took a picture of it for me. So Yeshua is killed here. By 35, by 36, notice that by 36 the persecution began on all the Christians. That's a new Jubilee cycle. Okay? And in 60, what did I say that was? 62, the war ended with Boadicea, right here. But Joseph of Arimathea is still preaching his ministry. He's setting up universities and teaching it all across England and Europe at this time. James, okay, now I'm going to go through where all the different apostles were killed, but each of them was taken and buried up at Avalon. James, the son of Zebedee, he was put to death by Herod Agrippa shortly before the day of the Passover in the year 44, or about 11 years after the death of Yeshua. Andrew, no accurate death date given. A variety of traditions say he preached in Scythia. Where's Scythia? The Israelites. In Greece and in Asia Minor and Thrace. Remember Thrace? Thrace was another place of the Israelites. He is reported to have been crucified at Petrea in Achaia. John, well, John was supposed to live forever according to Yeshua. We don't know if John's sitting here amongst us today. Right? So no death date for John that we know of. But we know that he wrote the book of Revelations late in his life. Philip, the Bible doesn't say much about him, but he died, nor do we have accurate information. According to tradition, he preached in Phrygia, again another Israelite country of the Cimmerians, the Cimmerians, and died in Hierapolis. Where's Hierapolis? Greece. Okay?
What's that Fox News thing?
That was just where I got the source.
Oh.
I'm trying to finish off my notes here. I'm quickly trying to put information together. This only come together in this last week, finally. Final review. Like a lot of it's disjointed because I've been throwing it together over the past couple months. Bartholomew, there's no information and no traditions. Matthew must have lived many years as an apostle since he was the author of the Gospel of Matthew, which was written at least 20 years after the death of Yeshua. There is reason to believe that he stayed for 15 years in Jerusalem, after which he went as a missionary to the Persians. Parthia is again, the Parthian Empire are the Israelites, and the Medes, where the Israelites were. There's a legend that he died a martyr in Ethiopia. Again, we don't know for sure. Thomas, as believed in the 4th century, says he preached in Parthia, again Israel, and Persia, where Israel was, and was finally buried in Edessa, which is in Iran. The later traditions carry him farther east. His martyrdom were, whether in Persia or India, is said to have been by a lance, and is commemorated by the Latin Church on December 21st. James Alphaeus, we know he lived at least 5 years after the death of Yeshua because of mentions in the Bible. According to tradition, he was thrown from the temple and then his brains smashed out. So each of the apostles was brought up to Avalon. Jude, according to tradition, Jude taught in Armenia. Where's Armenia? South of the Caucasus Mountains. Syria and Persia, where he is martyred. Simon the Canaanite, no information. Judas Iscariot, well, we know about Judas. He killed himself. And that, just so you know, he didn't hang himself on a tree. Judas took a sword and hung himself on his sword. And that's the reason that his bowels became disemboweled, because when you hang yourself on the sword, it's called harikiri in Japan. And you put your sword in, and as you fall on the sword, I'm not sure how it does, but it disembowels you as you fall forward. Is that the end? That's the end.
That's it.
That's the end. So, if you need more proof, I got another 10 hours of other things. And so, you know what? What tribes have I covered? Judah and Ephraim. A little bit of Zebulun. A brief mention of Naphtali. A brief mention of Simeon. Dan. Not too much on Gad. Not too much on Issachar.
Zebulon for Holland.
Zebulun for Holland. So like, but I could go on about Dan, I could go on about Holland. There's so much out there. But take this stuff, the little bits that you got, and go and learn it.